Hello, you're listening to Off the Page, a bookish podcast.
I'm Daisy.
And I'm Sophie.
We're English Lit students and we're here to give you a rundown of our favourite book-related topics. This week's going to be a little bit of a different episode. It's going to be a Q&A with the author of Finding Cassie, H.C. Penn. We'll be referring to her as Holly throughout the episode, just so you know who we mean. Holly has very kindly sent us answers to a list of questions. Unfortunately, she wasn't available to do a phone call with us, so they are written out. So we will be reading the question, reading out her answers, and then we'll have a little bit of a chat about what we think.
For some context, I'm going to read you guys the blurb of Finding Cassie. Cassie wakes up with no memory, only faces that claim to know her, a name that feels unfamiliar, and a life she doesn't recognise. But something isn't right. Fragments of another past flicker at the edges of her mind. A warning she doesn't understand lingers in the air. And as she searches for the answers, she begins to wonder, was she ever meant to remember? A gripping mystery of identity and deception, Finding Cassie will keep you questioning everything right up until the final page.
So the first question that we had for Holly was, what made you want to write a novel?
Holly answered this saying, I have always loved writing. I used to write little stories anytime we went on holiday, so writing has always been something I enjoy.
I think that's quite sweet.
That's really cute. I mean, both of us, if you didn't already know this, but Daisy and I are on a English literature and creative writing course, so we both write, but something about having such a passion for it that you would be writing on holiday, I mean, I don't even, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's definitely passionate.
Yeah, it says a lot. I mean, the fact that she's written a whole novel baffles me. Anyone who writes an entire book baffles me because I love to write, but I can only write a certain amount and then my brain goes kaput.
I mean, I'm working, air quotes, on a novel right now and I got, 4 or 5 chapters in and I was like, ah.
It's too much.
How do people have that many ideas? Like, I have ideas, but how do people string them together and do the little bits in between that makes them all sync together? Like, I have a lot of respect for someone who would choose to sit and spend their free time linking their ideas, you know? Mm-hmm. I'm a short story person. I have the idea, I write the idea, it's done, so respect. Alright, our second question for Holly was about what it was like to write a novel whilst balancing her regular life.
Holly responded, it was hard and it was time consuming. She said, I am a full-time primary school teacher and a parent, so I literally had to steal moments of time to write whenever I could. That's impressive, because...
I mean, she was writing on holiday.
That's wild. Being a primary school teacher, that on its own is so difficult, because obviously teachers, their work's never done, they take it home with them.
They really do. That is one of those careers that eats your free time as well.
Yeah, it really does.
So parent, teacher, and writing a book. Again, all I can say is respect, because writing takes a lot of time. We know this. We know some other authors in our life, mostly for uni, but let's not. But it takes a lot of time.
Takes a lot. Next, we asked Holly what inspired the story.
Holly told us a TikTok video I saw years ago with a tiny part of the plot idea in it.
That's actually so real. Like, for me, whenever I'm writing, I find it so hard to create an idea just from my brain. Like, if I really sat down and thought about it, I'm sure that I could, but I find it so much easier to like find inspiration through other things. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I've seen something and then copied it. It's just that it plants a seed in your brain that then starts to grow off like your own ideas and stuff, or like a collection of things.
I was about to say, if you don't get inspired by the things around you, I mean, I've probably never written an original, air quotes, thing in my life, if that's the standard you're holding it to. Because the thing I most recently wrote was essentially
so many
a mashup of so many things that I was interested in, and I threw them all together. And if you would discredit me for originality because I took bits and pieces of things I've seen, that's crazy. I think it's so real, because honestly, I've wrote based off of random TikTok video or an internet trend or a phobia. Like, honestly, anything
could inspire it. Like you've just said, like there's so many different things that can inspire a story. It could literally be you see a bug fly into a window and it splats.
I would like to say also, I love a good prompt, and I don't think there's any shame in a good prompt.
No, I
because
agree.
The creative juice is flowing. Like, if this TikTok video was the prompt that was needed, because it says it has a tiny part of the plot. Okay, I mean, sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes that's what you need, because I don't know about you, but I need a little piece of something to get excited about to be able to make up the rest.
Yes, I get you.
So I think that's very real. Our next question was about characters and how she went about building them.
The characters came as the story came, I think. Certain characters have elements of inspiration from people I know or have met, or even characters in TV shows or films I've watched. But none of them are really inspired by any one single person. They're all a combination of characteristics.
I always find it interesting when people say they write inspired by people that they actually know. Because that's not something that I necessarily do, but I would like to do.
I think it's smart. I also think that it's like, well, depending on the character, say the character's like the villain, and that's based off of someone you know, then obviously that's not necessarily a compliment, depending on the person.
I mean, though, do you do that?
No, but I think it's smart. I mean, I have an idea for a book that I would like to write, and it is inspired by my mum and her life. So if I were to write that, then it would be, the characters would be inspired by real people. I find that kind of nerve-wracking because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings or make them feel like violated in a way, I suppose.
Yeah, I get you. I think it's just not... I mean, I admire it and I'd love to do it, and I think people watching is awesome. And
it makes it so much more realistic as well.
I see a lot of people that would make great characters.
Yeah.
I tend to take mannerisms, maybe, like if I see people with interesting mannerisms, but not inspired by a person. I think sometimes with my writing, I always walk the line with not wanting it to be like a self-insert, not wanting it to be my voice. So I tend to write male characters so that I can't do that.
Yeah.
But I don't have, that many men in my life that I could draw upon for that, short of the very obvious. So I just don't tend to. But I think it, like you say, it makes it more realistic, more well-rounded.
Yes, definitely. Because the best way to create a realistic character would be to use someone who is real.
I really wonder how she does it. Is it strangers? Is it people in her life? Does she people watch?
Actually, that is like a follow-up question that I'd love to ask her is... How, like, what was it like based like on the characteristics that were taken from real people? How did you choose which ones to use? Like, how did you feel about it? Did it make you feel like you were writing about your friends and family? That's interesting.
I think people watching would be the most effective way that I would want to do something like that. But at the same time, then you have to create character profiles for people that you don't know anything about. I find that really interesting.
We asked Holly if she had any inspiration from any particular author or any book or reading or anything like that.
She replied, no, I don't think I did really. I didn't want my work to feel like someone else's.
That's so valid.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's nice to not have to credit anybody for your work.
Having the independence and like the individuality of like knowing that is your work and it's like not based on anything or taken from anything. It was just, there was the inspiration of the idea, a little bit of inspiration for characters, but again, as she says, they were mostly based off of people that she knows. And then that's it. The rest of it's all hers. That probably makes it feel like even more of her baby.
That speaks to a woman who knows what she wants.
Yes.
She doesn't have to look for inspiration. She's got it. She knows what she wants. Next, we wanted to know how she would introduce her main character if she was a real person.
She said, Cassie is damaged, but she doesn't know how much. She's kind and sweet and really quite lost. Her friends are the most important thing to her because they help her feel understood and normal.
Aww.
That's quite sweet. The next few questions are going to be focusing more on the process of publishing and creating the physical novel. The first one that we have, how much did you know about publishing before you started writing? And how did you find out about it as you went?
Holly replied, she didn't know anything. She says, I sent my book to publishers, nearly got scammed a few times, spoke to an author about her experiences, and watched a lot of indie authors on TikTok talk about their journeys, and eventually went for doing it myself.
It really seems like TikTok's been like a very beneficial tool.
Yeah, like a proper resource. To be fair, actually, now that we're talking about it, with this podcast specifically, when I originally started posting content, I started getting a bunch of stuff on TikTok about how to grow your social media following, how to like...
TikTok's actually really versatile, like it can be really helpful.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was really helpful when I was setting up the Instagram, but it knows. I feel like it knew exactly what Holly needed. I don't know if she did the research.
That's kind of creepy.
Or the research came to her, like the idea came to her. It's a valuable resource, but it is creepy how it is.
It is.
It's been helping me too. We followed up by asking how she made the decision to self-publish and if she'd considered commercial publishing.
She said that she would have liked to have published with a publishing house had the opportunity been available, but unfortunately that wasn't to be.
Yeah, the powers that be said no.
Powers that be said no.
I mean that's fair enough. Publishing houses. I mean there are some indie ones out there, but it seems you have to have some sort of connection or public profile.
Interestingly, this is something that Holly actually talks about in a little bit, so relating to one of our other questions. So we will get into that a little bit more about how closed the publishing industry is and how difficult it can be. But I would just like to say the fact that Holly has published this book, and it is beautiful. Yeah, you guys will see the cover on the thumbnail, so you'll be able to see how beautiful it is. But yeah, no, it just kind of testifies to the fact that you don't have to have these big publishing houses behind you in order to make a book.
Can I ask if it's completely self-funded?
Yes, it is.
Completely self-funded.
She's done everything herself. She's paid for everything. So she has done, obviously, fundraising. Mm-hmm. But that is her doing all
like crowdfunding, Patreon, something like that. Yeah,
that's her doing it completely herself. Which, by the way, if you want to help her out, she has a link in her Instagram, which will be linked in our bio down below. Keeping with the self-publishing theme, we asked her to describe the self-publishing process.
Which she responded by saying, when publishing with Amazon, you have to have everything ready to go. Amazon won't check anything, they'll just print it. So if anything is slightly off, it won't print well. It's about preparation and following the guidelines Amazon gives you to the letter. Then once it's uploaded, that is literally it.
That's kind of scary, not having anything to fall back on. There's no checks or anything.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's weird that Amazon doesn't check because, you see all those scams of Amazon of people frauding content. So you'd think that they would run.
Check,
I would have thought so. That's really scary that they don't. Amazon also doesn't know if it's good or not.
Yeah.
By that standard. It's all you. Did she have a proofreader?
No.
Really?
I don't think so.
So a girl had to be 110%
meticulous,
confident, 110%. This is all her. I hope you guys read it.
Because at that point as well, once she's done everything through Amazon and it's getting printed and stuff, if there's any errors that she's missed, it's too late.
Writing a book is not for me. There's 5 million typos in everything I write. Honestly, that's terrifying.
I know, I don't think I could.
A lot of respect. I think that really expands the book writing progress to not only write the whole thing, but then you have to edit the whole thing yourself.
Market the whole thing yourself.
And you also have to be responsible for, what's the word? Not even just proofread, but editors are responsible for making sure everything's translatable to the reader, and they'll those multiple eyes are really important.
It's the layout of the pages, the font size,
if things need to move, if there's something as the author that's in your brain that isn't translating on the page, they're gonna have to point it out.
There's so much that goes into it. So if you're published by a publishing house, there is so much that you wouldn't have to worry about. Obviously you can have your say in things, but you wouldn't necessarily have to worry so much about it. Like I say, stuff like font size and font type and page numbers,
typos,
front cover, even where your name is on the book. It's
a lot of decisions.
Exactly. So when you're with a publishing house, majority of it is you do the decision making. When you're self-publishing, you're not just doing the decision making, you are making the creation. You have to do it yourself.
And market research was the word I was looking for. I think she's obviously had to market research this.
Definitely.
Because how else would she know what's translating, what's not translating? Yeah. To take it upon yourself to make sure that the people in your life are understanding this. I just think it's a whole different level of dedication.
Yeah, definitely.
Because these are all processes that are sort of automated for most of the authors you see on our shelves. We also asked about how she went about creating her cover for the book.
Her response was that she paid a wonderful cover artist from South Africa to design the cover, and she also said that she was so happy with it.
After seeing the cover, I have to say, she's right, it is really beautiful.
It is, and it makes so much sense. Once you know what the story is about, you literally just read the blurb. The front cover makes so much sense. If you've seen the cover before you understand what the book is about, it kind of piques your interest of, oh, what could this be about? It's like it's a compelling cover.
So this is a book that is designed to be judged by its cover because it's a beautiful cover.
It really, really is. And then once you've read the blurb, you look at the cover again and you're like, oh my gosh, that's why it looks like that. That's why it's been designed this way. Like the jigsaw pieces, chef's kiss.
I think it stands out as well. It's got that modern feel that's similar to some of the covers that we see in new releases.
I really like the muted tones as well. You see a lot of books at the moment that are either so dark, like just completely black, or like really bright and like in your face colours. I really like the subtlety of this cover.
I'm looking behind you.
I have a little library. I have quite a lot of books. And looking at them,
most things are either black spines, hot pink, red, or yellow seems to be the main.
Yeah.
So I'm really enjoying the simplicity of this one, like you say.
We're going to take a little break now to play a little game.
The premise of this game is pretty common. 2 truths and a lie. We're going to be testing each other's knowledge and how much we've been paying attention to the books discussed in our previous 4 episodes. If you want to play along, feel free to leave your own answers in the comments below.
In episode 1, we discussed It Ends With Us. Here are 2 truths and a lie to see how much Sophie was paying attention. 1. Lily and Ryle have a shotgun wedding in Vegas. 2. Lily has a pottery shop. 3. Their daughter is called Emerson.
The pottery shop is a lie.
Correct!
I'm a genius. Moving on to episode 2, where we discussed I'm Glad My Mum Died. Here are 2 truths and a lie for Daisy. Number 1. Jeanette grew up in a 2-parent household. Number 2. Following Sam and Kat, Jeanette quit acting altogether. Question number 3. Jeanette has both released and toured a music album.
Okay, the music album is true. Shit. 2-parent household, or what was the other one? She stopped acting after Sam and Kat. I think the 2-parent household is the lie.
Girl, no.
What did she do after Sam and Kat?
She had a web show.
A web show?
But she was acting on it. She was still acting on a web show.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about that in the episode.
Neither did we talk about the music album. I don't know where you got that from.
I'm cultured. This is not fair. You can't say that. This is cruelty and this is a violation.
How did you know that? I thought I was being mean with that, but you knew that.
Episode 4 was The Cruel Prince. Number 1, Jude's dad Maddox kills one of the princes. Number 2, Jude has 2 sisters and a little stepbrother, and Jude is a human.
The first one is lying.
Yes, can you tell me why?
The vibes.
The vibes.
I don't know if did he kill more than one of them or something? Yeah, he killed like more than one of them. You said that they killed one.
Jude's dad, Maddox. He's not her dad. He just kidnapped her and raised her.
You know what? I swear you referred to him as her like adopted dad and it colloquially.
This is why I told you that mine were cruel, is because as I was writing this one out for the listeners, I said to Sophie, I feel like this one is not very fair because it is kind of not fair.
And you said mine wasn't fair. For episode 4, we read Cersei. Here we go. Number 1, Cersei is the only witch in her family. Number 2, Scylla enjoys torturing and drowning men. Number 3, Cersei has a relationship with both Hermes and his descendant.
She is the only witch is the lie. No, she's not the only witch is the lie. The first one.
Can you tell me what you mean? You're right, but can you tell me what
She is the only witch.
No, that's what I wrote.
Wait, what?
I wrote that she is the only witch.
Oh wait, no. Okay, so she's not the only witch.
No.
Okay, so the only reason that I chose that one is because I know that the other 2 are true. If you'd have put something else in there, I probably wouldn't have known. But I know that the other 2 are true.
She's not the only witch. All of her siblings practice witchcraft.
Yes.
To some
I remember
capacity.
that. Yes, they all have the ability to do witchcraft, but she's the only one who actually like delves into it.
I'm glad you remember because I thought you didn't listen. All right, moving back into our questions for Holly.
We wanted to know how Holly chose her printing company.
She says, I did everything through Amazon, so I do absolutely none of it. But receiving my first box of printed books was very cool.
Okay, that's actually useful to know because obviously we've just been talking about how much goes into self-publishing, but then I feel like that is like quite a big thing to take off of the place. So Amazon's actually, I mean, it sounds a little bit scary having no proofreader or anything like that, but at least when it comes to the printing of the book, it seems like that would be quite a good place to go.
Like we were talking about font, but maybe it's standardized. Maybe Amazon has a standardized printing methodology.
Yeah.
So that's something off of her plate, I suppose. But still, she sounds relieved. Her response sounds relieved. Like, I'm so glad I did none of this. But imagine that feeling that you haven't seen the printed books. You've had nothing to do with the printed books. You've just sent off an image and... in my head, I have a Word document, but a manuscript. And all of a sudden, it's real and it's in your hands.
Oh,
and there's
amazing.
And there's like freaking hundreds of them as well, because it's a box of them.
Amazing.
And the smell.
Oh, I love the smell of a fresh book.
Next, we inquired about her experience with marketing and getting visibility for the book.
She said marketing is impossible because it's so time consuming and so expensive. She said, I'm trying, but it's very difficult, which completely understand. The market is so saturated that it's so hard to get a book out there. There's so many books of so many different topics and genres. You walk into a bookstore and there's hundreds, there's thousands.
Yeah.
So it's gotta be so hard to get one singular book to be seen by more than a couple hundred people.
I think that's very realistic as well, because usually companies have a name and a big account and a big following, and she's starting from scratch she's got to build the following.
Yeah. So when you're with a publishing house, they will have
a pre-established.
They'll have pre-established marketing strategies or
lanes for that as well.
Yeah, they'll have like new release lists that will go into like newspapers and things like that will kind of push it forward. So it'll be kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's like a step up.
Yeah, so it'll be like specific books will have specific place. So say you walk into Waterstones, the books that are on the shelves that are closest to you and that look like they're more prioritized, that's for a reason. One, it'll be because they're quite popular, or two, it'll be because they have a contract with the publishing house that means that they have that kind of special treatment.
I agree. I think it adds a whole nother level of difficulty again because these companies have a pre-established following that trust their taste, air quotes, or standards for quality. It's hard to build a following that is going to read your book based off of reputation.
Yeah.
She's building her own reputation to sell her book, which is a completely separate task to just selling the book.
Also, on the topic of Waterstones, or just bookstores in general, self-publishing does not mean that your book is going to be put into a bookstore. That is a whole other side of things, which if you're with a publishing house, that's automatically in the deal. There will be bookstores that your book is automatically put into. Whereas self-publishing, your book would have to do significantly well for them to then take on that book. And then that would be a whole other side of things, because I assume that they would also then expect some sort of revenue for holding your book.
Or at least for pushing the book. Like if you want your book to be advertised by a bookstore.
If you want it on that special pedestal.
Yeah, maybe they'd sell it, but I don't know if they'd display it, if they'd push it. Yeah, I see what you mean. And it's difficult.
Definitely. We asked Holly what she was expecting before starting publishing versus what the reality of it was like.
I just yawned, so if you heard that, I'm sorry. She said, I didn't expect so many publishing companies to ask for so much money. I also didn't expect the well-known companies to always have their submission closed. It makes getting seen very difficult. I don't think there's a spot for unpublished authors in the literary universe yet. I think we touched on this.
Yeah, we touched on this a little bit.
We touched on this before. It feels like to enter that sort of world, you need to have some sort of following or portfolio or some pre-existing name. It's
either a lot of money, a lot of connections, or a lot of luck.
And a lot of followers, because they seem to prioritise
popularity. Yeah. So you'll see on TikTok, there's a couple of books that were self-published that kind of took off based off of just kind of getting caught in the algorithm, and then post-publishing, self-publishing, they've then been republished with a publishing house.
I must say...
but that's only after people have already picked it up and it's become popular.
I must say, from an outside perspective, from someone who's hoping to maybe get published or work in publishing one day, it feels a little bit like a popularity contest.
Definitely.
Not only to get published, but even to work in there in the first place. It just seems to be quite a difficult space to enter.
It's a very closed off industry.
It's very...
Which you would never assume with the amount of books that there are and the amount that get published every year. You would never assume that it is so closed off. But it really, really is.
What is the word that they would use for it? Like, high prestige. They consider themselves... Or it just seems to be really locked off and inaccessible to a certain extent. But then you could say go the other way, and some things prioritise accessibility over quality. And there's so many arguments to be made, but it always remains that whatever you do, it's quite exclusionary. We then asked her if she was to go through this whole process again, what would she choose to do differently?
She said that she would hope to have an agent to help her next time and help sell it, which obviously makes so much sense. Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, that's the dream, isn't it? An agent.
Yeah, I know. Wild. Mirroring that, we also asked what the best part about publishing was.
She said that the best part was seeing it selling in other countries and that was really cool.
Yeah, I see why that would be cool.
I know, but why was it cool? I suppose having that impact around, it's an impact, isn't it? That's what it is. That's what makes it cool, is that people are knowing your name and seeing your baby.
It's more than just your friends and family picking it up. It's more than just like the people that already know you trying to support you. There are people out there that you don't know who have seen your book, seen the cover, read
seen
the
a piece of your soul.
Seen a piece of your soul and gone, I want that.
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah, because honestly, writing is like bearing a little piece of your soul. I don't know. She gave her baby away. And it's really her baby because she published it herself.
Yeah.
The handover was at the last hurdle instead of earlier on. Oh, and it's people are reading her baby across the world. We then asked Holly what advice she'd give to herself if she were to go through this again.
Very cut and dry. She said, just do it yourself, babe. Which I think is sexy advice, and you should all take it. If you want to do it, do it.
Cut out the mess, cut out the drama, cut out the rejection,
Just do it.
Nike!
Which actually rolls directly into the next question, which was, what advice would you give to someone else? And she literally said, do it. If you want your book out there, go for it. Don't wait for someone else to give you the go-ahead.
Amazing advice.
We asked Holly if she had any plans to continue writing in the future, and if so, what kind of things she would write.
She replied that she is writing a book at the moment, which is inspired by the bridge in Ed Sheeran's Castle on the Hill. Oh, I like that.
Oh, that to me, like, that's exciting for me, because that could mean so many different things. That could be about so many different things.
That really ties back to what we said at the beginning, like, that being like, inspiration is
It can come from anywhere.
Ed Sheeran's Castle on the Hill. I want to know how long she's had an image in her head for that, because that song's been out a while. I'm imagining this image of this castle on the hill being in her brain for so long, and she's fine, she's ready.
It's such a specific part of the song as well. It's not just inspired by Castle on the Hill. It's inspired specifically by the bridge in the song Castle on the Hill.
And Ed Sheeran, hell yeah. Nothing like Ed's artistry to bring out other people's artistry.
Come from anywhere.
Exactly. And for our final question, we asked Holly what success would look like for this book in her terms.
She said, if I were able to get an agent off the back of this book, that would feel like success to me, which I think is a pretty good goal to have.
Is agent sort of intertwined with company representation, would you say, in this context?
I think so. We'll interchange agent for this for just representation. I think she just wants someone to help her push the book, help her market it, and kind of get some support with the whole publishing, like just the whole process, really, I'm assuming.
So essentially she wants to be able to continue writing with more support.
Yeah.
She wants her name out there.
She wants her name out there, she wants some support, and to be able to do what she loves without it being so difficult.
And having to self-fund it. You know, it's credibility as well. She wants this book to build up her credibility and notoriety.
Her portfolio.
Portfolio!
That's a wonderful word.
With that, it brings us to a close. You've been listening to Off the Page, a bookish podcast.
This episode has been a Q&A with H.C. Penn, the author of Finding Cassie. We hope that Holly has inspired you as much as she inspired us, and that if you've been looking at getting your book published, whether that be with a publishing house or self-publishing, that this episode kind of gives you the nudge that you need to just do it.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, if you're feeling really nice, comment, and also click the links to our social media accounts in the bio, as well as Holly's.
We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye!